Joel Berry has this great tweet, and it's a video originally posted by Nerdrotic. It's a scene from the new Star Wars show, which they are dubbing as the gayest Star Wars. I'm not kidding. And I'd like you to watch this quick clip, and then we'll talk about...
And that was the pressure valve. I got it.
So there's a woman in space, and she sees a fire in space, and she stares at it. And Joel Berry says, female Star Wars showrunners putting a crackling campfire in space is the kind of thing that happens when you get rid of mansplaining. I would agree. So the new Star Wars show apparently is super woke, abysmally bad, and it's getting roasted. The Post Millennial says Star Wars hires Harvey Weinstein's assistant to make, quote, gayest Star Wars ever. People have told me it's the gayest Star Wars, and frankly, I am into it. You know, part of me doesn't care because Star Wars is bad and has been bad for a long time. But there was another clip where the actress is talking to Trevor Noah, and she says making white people cry was kind of the point. I'm just kind of like, at what point does the money just stop? You know, like the socialism quote, socialism is great until you run out of other people's money. That's literally what we're seeing. Washington Post is on the verge of collapse. They just had a new editor come in saying, like, we've got to change things. Nobody reads what you guys write. And the response from the staff was, have you considered hiring more black women? And like, they think that is a function of merit. Like, they think that machines can work based on the color of the skin and the gender of the person running the machine.
These people live in bubbles that is well outside the norm for most people in America, which is how they come up with these beliefs and thought patterns, if you want to call it that.
I think everybody on the new Star Wars show is gay too. Is that
real?
Wasn't it that in just the article before that you were skimming through?
Well, they're saying it's this one.
No, if you scroll down in that video, the caption? No, scroll up to that video.
This one.
Yeah.
They were just saying it's the gayest Star Wars ever.
Gayest Star Wars ever.
Dude,
I was never into Star Wars, so
That's
I don't know. Was it gay to
I've
begin
never
with?
even been able to finish the first one.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, the
a lot of
original
haters here, I'm sure, but
the original Star Wars are good movies, and they were revolutionary for their time. It's one of the they were very. I mean, we're talking about the 70s, and you're watching space battles.
Any gay characters back then?
No
gays.
And then what they're like, C-3PO is gay, and I'm like, C-3PO is a robot.
Gay robot.
He's a robot. He does not have the capability of sexual reproduction.
Maybe it could be trans then.
These people are
non-binary,
obsessed, like Elad is, with the issue.
Non-binary robot.
See how obsessed he is. He just has to have his gay robot. But this is what they're doing, and so I'm kind of surprised to see that they did this to Star Wars, considering everything we've gone through with Bud Light, especially, and at a certain point, like these companies have to realize this stuff doesn't work, right?
Yeah, but again, there's such bubbles that I think they convince themselves otherwise, or they're going to cocktail parties afterwards and they're getting patted on the back, just like that sit down interview you're seeing there, and told how great and bold and beautiful and brave they are, that they can't let go.
Yeah,
of that.
Who did this interview? What is this? The Rap? Come on, The Rap. What are you guys doing?
See, this is why I'm more of a Jetsons person.
Someone needs but I'm totally fine with, like, Washington Post is about to go out of business. They are suffering. And so these legacy media institutions will not be able to do these interviews anymore. And then they're going to put out a new Star Wars, and then their PR person is going to be like, yeah, there's no big press outlet to go with. They're going to be like, I
don't know that we ever lose those types of institutions. Like, I feel like, BlackRock or someone will say
Jeff Bezos bought WAPO and it's collapsing.
Right, but is he going to actually let it collapse and go out of business?
No. The point is,
I don't think so.
Is he going to let himself bleed $100 million a year in cash? Like the even if you are ideologically driven, you need some kind of sustainability.
Right.
You have to think like, I'm going to start a business. I don't expect it to be profitable. Here's how much I can withstand to lose, but it's got to make some money back. Otherwise, it will collapse.
Right.
Like Bezos,
or it's just a passion project and you're just trying to get the message out there and make everybody gay.
There is no amount of wealth on the planet right now that could sustain, well, I take that back.
I think you could do $100 million a year.
I feel like there's a lot of very rich liberal donors who don't care if their donations or nonprofits or whatever they contribute make any money so long as they're advancing whatever LGBTQ or open borders agenda.
Like $100 million a year.
Do you think George Soros cares?
So the issue
No, he'd
is,
rather his money be more effective, like electing DAs.
Yeah,
So,
but even if
he
they
would care
lose,
about
he's
those.
just like, what, I'm sure
Well,
he's not.
so I don't think that's possible. Like Bezos, sure, he's worth $100 billion or whatever, but having to constantly sell stock in Amazon when he's legally able to do so because he's restricted in order to fund the failing Washington Post, I don't think can be done for a very long time.
I don't think he wants to run the Washington Post as a, I don't think the purpose of acquiring the Washington Post was to make money. It was always just for him to have that
Influence.
fake influence over them, which they would deny. But
And now the issue is no one's reading it. So he does not have what he bought, which means he's burning money and not getting the influence he tried to buy. So he's likely going to go to his editors and say, I want influence. I want views. Why aren't we getting it? And they go, oh, because the woke stuff nobody wants to read. He's going to be like, well, make people read stuff. Make the stuff they'll read. All that really matters is we average 1 million hits per article. Make the articles people want. So then when I need to write an article talking about how great I am, I can, and they'll read it. But if the company is losing half its audience and bleeding money, he basically bought a garbage can.
I think the agreement with Bezos and the Washington Post is with a wink and a nod, and don't write any articles or investigate me, and maybe investigate Musk and all my other rich buddies, but not me. Keep me closer.
But then the company collapses. So what was the point of buying it in the first place?
I mean, it'll exist. Just
could have bought it and
as
liquidated
a
it.
shame of a hollow, empty shell of its former self. And I think they're still winning Pulitzers. I don't know. It depends on what you're measuring there.
The fact they brought in a guy who said, I'm bringing in more people and we're turning things around shows that there is a crisis panic moment happening in Washington Post, and they do not live in that world.
Have they tried hiring more black people? Black women?
That's what the staff asked them. And they're like, are you nuts? And they're like, well, maybe try doing that. And then one of the staffers said, I couldn't help but notice the people you're hiring are white men. And he said, I'm bringing on people that I know have the experience to turn this around and have succeeded in the past. But this is what you get. I love the Vice story where that guy, what was his name? I think it was like Brian Moynihan or whatever, was saying that Vice hired these woke millennials who started demanding that Vice eliminate their own history. They had a wall of all their magazine covers, and they were like, take them all down. And the Vice staff were like, the heads of Vice, the guys who founded it were like, well, okay, I guess. And they took down their own history. Like,
what was the purpose? I missed.
So Vice magazine.
Right, I'm saying, why did they want to take them down?
Because they were offensive. Because Vice was edgy.
Oh, back when they were, yeah.
But Vice,
They were founded on white supremacy with...
well, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right?
Yeah, Gavin. They were founded on white supremacy.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And so they had a bunch of edgy magazine covers. And the woke millennials said, we want them gone or else. And they said, deal. Got rid of them. Dude, if you invite people into your company and they say, change everything about your company, and they eviscerate it in the literal sense, disembowel it, you're not the company anymore. You've given everything up. And so Star Wars is a great example. Star Wars has been a Weekend at Bernie situation for 10 years now or longer? And there are people who just don't want to let go, but it is garbage. And Star Trek is not getting any favors from me either. Star Trek is gone pretty bad as well. But Picard's okay. They fixed it a little bit. Picard had a season where they go back in time because Donald Trump is a fascist who turns. I'm not kidding. Something happened where I'm not kidding. Trump wins, and then the Federation becomes an empire, and they're like, we have to go back in time and stop this from happening. I didn't watch it.
This is why you should just watch the Jetsons. It's got all your sci-fi needs right there.
There's a really funny show right now called Evil. Have you guys heard of it? Mm-mm. It's on Netflix. I don't know. I think it's like a CBS show or something. But it's about this psychologist. I think she's a psychologist. And she works for a law firm. And then something happens where some guy claims he's possessed. And she ends up meeting a priest. She ends up doubting whether he's actually suffering from a mental episode or whether or not he's possessed. So she gets fired. But the story is basically a priest. The church hires them to investigate situations that may be miracles or paranormal of the church's interest, usually to debunk them. So the church can claim this is not. But the show is amazingly and obviously woke. Her husband is missing. He's off gallivanting about climbing, leaving her behind. I don't know if this changes later on in later seasons, but all of the, it's just in one episode, they think that a woman comes back to life. It's a miracle. And then it turns out it wasn't a miracle. Do you know why the woman came back to life? It's because she was a black woman. And the doctors weren't performing CPR on black women at the same degree as the white women.
That's great.
I love these people.
They called her time of death. Yes, they called her time of death a half an hour early. And then when they went to do like the autopsy, they took the blade to her face and she woke up because she was alive the whole time. And they were like, it's a miracle. She's come back to life. And they're like, how did this happen? And then the resolution is like one of the main characters who is a black actor. He's like, it's because you were racist. And then he slams documents on the table and he's like, you perform 58 minutes of chest compressions on white people versus 23 on black people. And if you had done the chest compressions, she would have been okay. And he's like, how dare you? You get out of my office. And I was just like, oh my God.
So it's kind of like Law and Order. If you look at like the really old Law and Order episodes, they're out fighting real crime and everything. But now it's like, we have a hate crime to look into today. And they're like, what happened? And like, so there's a Pride sidewalk. And this 18-year-old child did donuts on it.
It's actually
a felony now.
That's a good idea for a bit. It would be
that
like
would be a great
woke
bit,
Law and
actually.
Order.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the show now, but yeah, we could make it a little funnier.
So like it starts, because you know they always do the cold open where like someone discovers a body.
Yep. I think they discovered the Pride Walk with the tire tracks.
That's a good one. Another good one is like a woman is like, you know, like a non-binary person. Let's just say that, you know, purple hair, shaved head, is walking. It's always a really, really drawn out, suspenseful cold open. So she's walking up to, she's got a bag of groceries, or I'm sorry, they have a bag of groceries. They open the door, and then their neighbor is checking the mail, and it's like, hey, Sam. And Sam is like, hey, how's it going? How was the family? He's like, it's doing pretty good. You have a good day at work? Yeah, I had a good day. And Sam walks upstairs, opens the door, and then drops the groceries and goes, oh my God. And then it shows another person with purple hair and a shaved head just sitting there, but crying, and looks up and goes, I was called sir. And then it goes, dun dun, and like that's the crime. And then the whole episode is basically investigating like who was the person who misgendered.
But Jordan Peterson has to be at some point put on stand to talk about it.
Well, it would clearly.
It's an awful crime.
It's clear that the villain is based on Jordan Peterson. He's called Dr. Peter Jordanson.
Yeah.
And the crime will like ultimately you learn like after the investigation that it shows what happened, and it's Dr. Peter Jordanson walking down the street, and then the person's walking by and he goes, how do you do, sir? And that's it. And the guy's like, and then the judge sentences him to 25 years on an island. To the island.
Aren't they actually sentencing people for this kind of thing in, is it England
Canada
now or Canada? Okay, yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.